see if the network is gonna, or if Squadcast is gonna like my crappy network connection. It
tells
seems
me
like it's gonna.
Seems like it's recording.
Yeah, I've got a countdown on the screen.
Yeah.
I have
always
no
a good
idea
sign.
what it's counting up to. I wish it was retirement.
Yeah.
Mike's got
everything
one of
looks
those
good.
clocks.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. All right. So should we get started? Or does anybody have any fun things to say before? So you did read the show notes, right, Mike?
I'm reading them now. As I... James, let me tell you. Let me fill you a little bit in on what I've got going on. I have 4 podcasts, work, and things like that. So, and then of course all of the people on Telegram that want to talk to me about different things on the various podcasts. It's like, when do I have time to do anything else? But here I am. I'm here. I'm here with you guys.
Yeah.
In my crossover T-shirt that says, "Oh my God, it's R2D2. R2D2." It's a picture of a Dalek, and it says, "I loved him in Star Trek." So it's
excellent.
There you go.
I could see James just like. Nice.
It's the equivalent of that one with Patrick Stewart where the caption is "Use the Force, Harry." Ian
yes.
McKellen.
Yes.
So I think we should just get started.
Yeah.
All right, find the perfect angle, Mike.
Shush.
You look beautiful.
Shush.
All right, let's get started. Welcome to episode 3 of Threedowho. I'm Eric, coming to you from Seattle this month because I'm at a con helping the co-host of our other podcast, BFFT, with all his many, many, many panels and promoting the podcast.
So just counting the number of manys on your fingers just then.
Yes, because that's what it's been like all weekend long. We've been doing back-to-back panels, back-to-back. It's just been crazy. I have trucked my gear through this hotel so much now that I've left like wheel tracks in the carpet. So Mike, how are you?
I'm good. Just
I see we're
literally
going through puberty again.
I did. I literally just like woke up like a half an hour before you called me and says, "Hey, you're going to join us today?" Like, oh crap, yes. Okay.
It's okay. I literally just got up an hour ago with a massive hangover, so I'm here.
Hey.
I've been up for 9 hours because the girls decided that they wanted breakfast long before I did. So I kind of had to get up and go and feed them, and it's been one of those days.
Plus, all the girls?
No, just the two-legged ones outside.
Just the two-legged ones. Okay.
Madame basically she just wants food regardless of what time it is or anything, Yeah.
She's like my pug.
Yeah, and I swear
food,
my PT
it doesn't matter
is
what time it is.
me.
It's always food time.
And so kind of my PT has tried to kill me today with a new workout, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Well, you got to stay fit, so this is what you get.
God, I wish I could get rid of the voice in my head, just pull out another me, and just kind of like say, bye bye dysmorphia, bye bye anxiety, and I can pig out, and you can do the exercise.
Well, there's no bi-generation for us, unfortunately.
There's not even a heterosexual regeneration, a homosexual regeneration, let alone a bi-regeneration.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. I suppose we'll just have to get used to it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that, let's move on to some Who news. So, from the Whoniverse, I found an article about with an explosive new trailer has just launched with a glimpse of what's in store for the new season of Doctor Who when the TARDIS lands in May of 2024. With Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor alongside Millie Gibson and as Ruby Sendai, they will face new monsters as they head off in the TARDIS for many out-of-this-world adventures. And it will be returning to the iPlayer and Disney Plus for the rest of the world. And also, it looks like we're going to see some returning favorite characters, Yasmin Finney and Bonnie Langford, will both be reprising their roles as Rose Noble and Mel Bush. And they're also going to be introducing Jinx Monsoon as the Doctor's most powerful enemy yet. And Jinx is actually a drag queen from up in our area of the world.
Yeah.
Really?
From Portland.
When that casting was announced, a certain type of person, we won't use the T word or the kind of the C word or anything like that to describe them, but basically a certain type of person was very put out that they were daring to cast a drag queen in Doctor Who and completely forgetting that John Pertwee dressed in drag for at least one show.
Yeah. Well, and considering some of the Doctor's outfits anyways.
Yeah. There's a lot in that trailer that kind of interests me, and there's been various other announcements and speculations which we'll get onto when we discuss the episodes.
Yeah,
I think there's going to be a lot more returning faces than we realize.
I kind of got that too, and some pretty new, interesting villains too. I think.
Hope so.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we can kind of, because we've only got 8 episodes this year. The trade-off between kind of getting the effects and everything and Ncuti's filming schedule is we're getting 8 episodes this year. So I would like all new villains, but I've got horrid suspicions.
Yeah. Well,
they did.
I mean,
they did tease They did tease quite a lot in these first 4 episodes of the year. So there is a lot of teasing and nuances that I think we're going to see some very, very interesting things. And I think it's also that everybody that always wanted to be on Doctor Who was friends with Russell T. And when he left, they were like, oh, I'll never be on the show. And now that he's back, they're like, hey, can I be on your show? And he's like, sure, why not? Come on in. We'll cast you in something.
We have 8 episodes to get you all in. Well, actually,
That's right.
They have actually, they're well into filming Ncuti's second series at the moment anyway.
Good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So 2025 should be really good, I think, too. So, yeah, I'm super excited about it. It's looking like it's going to be a good lineup of guest stars and some interesting things going on.
And the Beatles.
Oh yes, the Beatles too. Yes.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome, because who doesn't love the Beatles?
The Rolling Stones.
Apple doesn't love the Beatles.
Yeah.
Well, Rolling Stones and Apple, because they lost.
Yeah. Again, I'm looking forward to that one with a bit of a sense of dread. Because there was that film yesterday, wasn't there? Where a few years ago now, where the Beatles were kind of written out of time and only one person remembered them.
Oh, yeah, I haven't watched it though.
And rather depressingly, a couple of years before that came out, the Doctor Who Audio Adventures did a story where the Beatles were written out of time and no one remembered them. And I'm just wondering if we're going to complete the set by having it on TV as well.
Yeah,
possibly. I
Could
mean,
be. Apple also. So I thought it was funny. Apple has a show called For All Mankind, and it's an alternate timeline for the space race and stuff. And in that timeline, John Lennon didn't get assassinated. And so as they're moving forward in time, there's little snippets on the TV about how the Beatles broke up and their records aren't worth anything and all this other stuff, which is a jab at them because it's an Apple program. So I thought it was kind of funny that they are just jabbing at the Beatles. And it's just in the background, like in the news. It says, and in other news, John Lennon tried to get the Beatles back together, and they told him that they would never meet again and never be in the same room together.
Jeez. Wow, Apple does not take things lying down.
No.
As I sit here on my MacBook recording this.
Yeah.
Right. I'm on my Mac also. So yeah, there we go.
And I'm on
holding my iPhone.
And I'm on a PC that is held together with masking tape. I feel very, very retro for this one. Yeah.
Well,
It's gonna be interesting. May seems a very long time away, but those 8 weeks are just gonna fly by. It's not fair.
It seems extremely far away from me, so I'm, pining away for my boyfriend to come visit me. So, yeah. But enough about me. I think we should get on to our main topic. Yeah, since our last episode of Three Do Who, the final two 60th anniversary specials, Wild Blue Yonder and The Giggle, premiered, and the all-new Christmas special starring the 15th Doctor, played by the fabulous Shudigatwa, The Church on Ruby Road. So let's dive into these amazing specials and discuss them. So I'm going to do Wild Blue Yonder because I'm ex-Air Force, and, that's our song. So, I figured it was good for me to do that one. So I'm just going to, like a quick little recap and not completely spoil the ending for anybody who hasn't watched it. But if you haven't, go watch it because it's really good. Watch all of these. They're really good.
If you've not watched them, what the hell are you doing listening to a podcast that's reviewing them?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Go watch them.
True.
You've got time.
Yeah. Pause, play, resume. Yeah.
Play. Yes, exactly. So in the Wild Blue Yonder, the TARDIS is out of control due to Donna spilling her coffee into the control console. They land in an apple tree that just so happens to have Isaac Newton sitting under it. And Donna changes the future by telling a really bad joke, which ends up causing gravity to become Mavity. And henceforth, we will probably be hearing Mavity ad nauseum. Which I am here for. I love it. I've actually had 3 people come up to me at this con saying Mavity. So I'm here for it. I love it. They crash landed. So after they leave the tree, they crash land in a really big spaceship with the TARDIS playing Wild Blue Yonder at an alarmingly loud level. It was just a very proud moment for me, being
the crashing?
U.S. Air Force vet. Yes, the crashing.
The crashing. It's a very big moment.
Yes, the crashing. Yes, that's the very proud moment for me. But the Doctor and Donna get out just as a giant gout of flame shoots from the doors and they slam shut. And the Doctor starts the repair cycle by jamming his sonic screwdriver in the keyhole, which apparently I didn't know you could do, but apparently you can. And he and Donna go off to explore, and when they hear the TARDIS leaving, the Doctor thinks that during its rebuild cycle, the TARDIS might have reactivated its HADS system, the Hostile Action Displacement System, and we'll be back if and when the danger is gone. So, fantastic little bit of technology there in the TARDIS. Yeah, get the ship out of the way. Forget the people. Get the ship out of the way.
Has that ever been referenced before?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
I will detail that in a bit.
Okay.
Yay. I was hoping you would because it just cracked me the heck up. I was like, oh no. But with no Sonic and just their wits, they find out that the abandoned ship, that they're stuck on the edge of the universe. At least they have their air in Mavity, though. So they're good. They explore it and find out that they're actually not alone on this abandoned ship. As things go on, they find out that they're being hunted by shape-shifting beings who mimic them and are trying to get the Doctor and Donna to stop the countdown to destruction that is very, very slowly taking place. I'm going to leave my synopsis at that point so that nobody else really gets anything ruined, but there are some very fabulous moments in it. I loved that it was a no Sonic episode.
Yes.
I also loved the ship. I thought was really cool and really well done. And the little old robot who looked very suspiciously like Marvin the Paranoid Android from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah, that was commented on quite a lot. Although, of course, Marvin has had more faces than the Doctor. I mean, that's very
true because
the movie version of Hitchhikers.
Yes, the one from the big budget one from the US, and it was not 100% great, but at least they did have one of the original Marvins in it too. So, and I thought the monsters were really terrifying. Easily probably one of the scariest monsters, but also a little bit funny because of the shape shifting and the being unable to control themselves thing. I thought that was pretty funny.
I love the fact that they actually did it with physical props again. I have a big thing about physical props, and there's some fantastic behind the scenes pictures of David sitting in a chair just with these humongous arms resting on the floor.
My arms are too long.
And I'm just thinking that kind of another few years and Catherine Tate will be sitting in the same chair with Mavity having taken control.
Oh no. I didn't
Well,
think
at least
about
they didn't touch on that on the show. I mean, they could have made them very large, but they did not. Thank goodness. It's a kids show after all, remember.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a kids show. We're all just big kids though.
Yep.
I've got to say, I mean,
but yeah, I thought it was a really good episode.
The green screen was a bit obvious in places. I mean, they only built short section of the ship, and the green screen, it just kind of, I don't think they got it quite right. There was too many obviously green screen bits.
Yeah, but I still thought the design of the ship was
the design
really cool.
Was fantastic.
And the trying to do anything of a scale that's as big as that ship was supposed to be is gonna be difficult. I mean, you look at all the money they poured into Titanic, and there are some very, very obvious green screen areas in Titanic. And they had big budget. This was James Cameron.
Yeah, but that was also
and they still couldn't even get it right.
Years ago.
Yeah, but it was also he spent a lot of money on that movie, and still there were some scenes that were like, oh, they're standing in front of a green screen. So I understand. I mean, when you're doing a ship that's large like that, you're gonna have some areas where you just can't get it to look right, I think.
Yeah. I kind of felt that some of the some of the things that they had the monsters do were like throwback to B horror movies. I mean, David Tennant with the crab walk. I mean, why? That was just silly. When he put his head between his legs and then crab walked across the floor. I'm like, wait.
They had a contortionist going spare.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but they wanted Russell's friend.
But you
didn't get contortionist. Can I get in that? Yeah.
But what was nice is you did get to see David's butt and his face at the same time.
That's true.
And more importantly, when they were running down the corridor, you got to see David's butt and David's butt.
Yes. Two David butts. Yes. It was.
And let me ask you a question now. So in the Flux, they were at the edge of the universe. And in this episode, the Doctor says, I've never been this far before.
The Flux wasn't actually at the edge of the universe. It came from the edge of the universe, but they weren't actually themselves at the edge.
Okay. Okay.
Weirdly, though, there is actually a Tom Baker story where he visits the edge of the universe and stares out into the infinite blackness. And
So he's been there before.
Yeah.
He just forgot. I guess when you get that old.
Besides, when you're how many centuries old?
He did it in the story called Underworld, and quite frankly, most fans try to forget that ever existed.
Okay, all right. I was just curious. I mean, because I had remembered it. I had a niggling in the back of my brain going, the Doctor's been to the edge of the universe before in several episodes. I mean, even at the what was it? The episode "The Face of Bo," they were at the end of the universe.
Oh,
and maybe that was the end of the universe, not the edge of the universe.
Yeah,
there's a difference.
The end.
Yes.
Yeah. The restaurant at the end of time.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that.
So you were asking. You were asking about the Hads, and this is kind of. I suspect this might be a running theme of the next RTD stuff, because the Hads originated in the 60s in a story called The Crotons, which again you are forgiven for completely forgetting.
I never forget to put croutons on my salad.
Yes.
Yeah. The Crotons was one of those stories where they wrote the script. They saw the the design of the monster in the script and said, yes, we can do that. And we're lying.
Effects guys always lie.
But basically, kind of, it was used once in the Crotons in rather bizarre circumstances. It was then completely forgotten about during the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th Doctor eras. And then it cropped up again in the 8th Doctor audios, where basically the TARDIS fled from a ship that was about to be destroyed. Yeah. It was... There were a few bits in The Wild Blue Yonder which were very reminiscent of some of the 8th Doctor audios. There's an audio called Scherzo, which basically is just the Doctor and the companion and a shape-shifting monster that's basically responding to input from the Doctor and the companion. And it takes place in a really long corridor, and I'm not going to say too much.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Sounds very familiar.
I loved it. I thought it was a great story. It was,
I did too. It was really good, and again, it kind of took the edge off the overuse of the Sonic in the previous episode.
And I have also since online seen "Will you stick your Sonic in my keyhole" as a euphemism.
Of course. What is it? The rule 39?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like
that. Yeah. If something is popular, there will be porn made of it. Oh well. But so, James, would you like to regale us with your synopsis and review of The Giggle?
I'm going to keep it quite brief because I want people to go away and watch it. But basically, the Doctor and Donna do make it back to Earth, where it turns
Spoilers.
out, where it basically turns out that the population of Earth, mankind, has gone completely batshit crazy. In what can only be seen as a slight dig at right-wing people on the internet, and left-wing people on the internet, and people on the internet.
On the internet, yes.
Yeah.
All of the peoples, yes.
All of them, yes.
Thankfully, before he can be run over by a rather angry man who is convinced he's right, the Doctor is rescued by UNIT, taken to their latest tower. I'm still not entirely sure how they got that built and how UNIT is supposed to be a secret organisation. Where the fantastic Kate Lethbridge-Stewart, the sublime Melanie Bush, and everyone is basically kind of doing their best to stay sane, find out what the hell is going on, and of course, Donna just happens to be the one that cracks the code and realizes that there is a signal embedded in every single screen that you are looking at. Oh shit, we are looking at 1, 2, 3. And it turns out that at the dawn of television, a being, and we'll get onto the nature of the being in a bit, called the Celestial Toymaker, put a signal into every single monitor, every single television broadcast, every single transmission, and with the completion of a satellite system, that has now enabled the signal to become strong enough that he can, for his own nefarious purposes, basically he gets kicks from it, he can take over mankind. And it is up to the Doctor, Donna, and UNIT to defeat him. And of course, the Celestial Toymaker, being an immortal god-like being, would never ever cheat. And of course, the Doctor, of being David Tennant, he needs to go off and do other films. So there is a regeneration. But I'm saying no more till we get onto the discussion. I was greatly apprehensive about this one. Some of my fears did come true. It was superb, though. There was the campest scene in 60 years of Doctor Who history. And if you have seen all 60 years of Doctor Who history, you will know that being camp is its kind of foundation level. So this was off the scale. Neil Patrick Harris doing a Spice Girls number.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, spice up your life too. Like it's the second British national anthem.
He was.
At what point did Doctor Who become a musical theater? That's what I'm kind of, because I'm noticing
when a gay
now,
guy started running it.
Apparently, yeah. So, so we have musical numbers now.
We've always had them. So
have we?
A quick rundown. The first Doctor was not musical at all. The second Doctor was addicted to his recorder. The third Doctor, I think, is the only one who we didn't get any musical stuff from.
True, but we didn't have Busby Berkeley.
But we did in the stage plays and in the audios and in the books.
Oh, okay.
So kind of it's catching up with the extended universe. There was one of the audios had an entire musical episode. Several of the audios have had villains that broke into song to drive people insane.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you gotta think an immortal being would get bored every once in a while and just want to be silly.
Just want to be, I guess. Okay, all right. I'll give you both that, but
it was
not a fan of the musical Doctor Who, but that's okay.
It was though kind of weird because they've basically massively reinvented the Celestial Toymaker for this story.
Oh yeah. He's quite a bit different.
He is very different from every version of the Toymaker we have had so far.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably my main criticism of the story. It's just Neil Patrick Harris was sublime. Do not get me wrong. His performance, the dialogue, the script, his everything was perfect. But for me, he wasn't playing the Toymaker. He was playing some other kind of trickster, like... I mean, the closest I can give you is Q from Star Trek.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because he did play it very Q-like.
Yes.
And, I mean, in fact, the dance number goes back to Q's love of, being theatrical.
Yes. Yes.
Q did that several times when he visited... several captains.
Yes.
So,
so yeah, I mean, I loved it. I loved the don't give a damn about UNIT being secret anymore. We're going to have UNIT Tower in the middle of London type thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you would think that as many times as UFOs have crashed into London and just been like swept under the rug, that people would finally get an idea that, hey, there must be some government organization handling all this.
Well, I'm surprised, given that it's always London that gets evacuated, destroyed, blown up, has time interfere with, that anyone would want their headquarters in London.
Put it somewhere else. Yeah. I mean, put UNIT headquarters in Canada, where it's safer.
I did a quick count up on my fingers, and I think in the Whoniverse 1970s, London got evacuated at least 3 or 4 times. And it's just like, if you've had a city that's had major evacuations that many times, why the hell would you build your headquarters there?
Well, and that's the same reason that nobody cared when the thing in the Star Beast, everybody was like, "Oh, look, a spaceship. Okay, let's go back to getting our oranges." I mean, it's just so commonplace in London now.
And if you've been to Camden, you'll know that aliens are there anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have built the tower in some sleepy little town like North Walsham.
Don't. I've talked. Yeah.
They could have gone to Cardiff, where Torchwood is.
Yeah. But no, I mean,
then they'd have to deal with a rift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly approve of them doing a new riff on regeneration, although it's not as new as people make out.
No, it's been kind of toyed with before, if I recall.
At least twice.
Mm-hmm.
So you got the Watcher for the 4th Doctor's regeneration, and one of the secondary characters in the 3rd Doctor's regeneration story also seem to have 2 versions of themselves kind of coexisting and helping each other. So yeah, I say it's not as unprecedented as some fans are making out. And I do love the fact that they stated that the world's first game is playing with balls, which joins the world's first profession, which is playing. Anyway,
playing.
Yes.
So
yes.
I loved it. I was wholeheartedly in favour of it. There was a couple of shots which needed a second take. There was one bit where a couple of unit soldiers were really grotesquely massacred, and the people surrounding forgot to react. I'm guessing everything was done in visual effects, and they forgot to include background reactions. That did irritate me a bit. And oh god, if you have a fear of puppets, do not watch this story.
Well, I really like that they brought John Logie Baird into the into the forefront of people's minds again, because he really was one of the founding fathers of television.
We can basically blame him.
Tech.
Yeah, we can blame him for reality shows. So basically, John Logie Baird is responsible for Trump.
Damn it.
Okay.
But yeah, he was a really brilliant guy, and without him, we would not have shows on television and shows on the internet and stuff like that. Because even though his television standard did not end up being what everybody uses, it was still pretty innovative for the time.
Oh yeah, and the puppet, the real one, still exists.
Yes,
the real puppet does still exist. So it was interesting, and there was the section in the hotel with the infinite corridors and stuff. I'm sure
I loved that.
I'm sure that was a nod to the old-fashioned kind of like type-in adventure games, which always seem to contain a sodding labyrinth. Yes. And it's like, if you didn't find the map, you were screwed.
Absolutely.
I did love the corridor with the endless doors, and I thought it was a lot of fun. Very Scooby-Doo. I also loved the bi-generation. So for me, like on a personal level, I like that they've given David a chance to come back whenever he wants to, because I just thought he really didn't want to go at the end of his run, and I think he really just loves playing the Doctor so much that this is just a nice little reward for him.
It does raise interesting questions about how long the 14th Doctor husk will remain on the Earth. The novelization is already out of the Giggle, and that does suggest that the future is not quite as rosy as the TV show makes out, but you'll have to read the book to find out why.
Okay.
Dang it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to make me read something that's going to make me cry, aren't you?
Sweetie,
possibly.
I could send you the script of The Lion King, and that would make you cry. I could send you I could send you a copy of your bank balance, and that would make you cry.
Oh, that will make me cry. Yes.
So the only comments I had about this episode is, well, first of all, the bi-regeneration I thought was kind of interesting, because I don't know if you noticed or not, but they each got half of the clothes that they were wearing.
So I noticed.
Ncuti got the shoes, what David Tennant had to be
barefoot.
Ncuti got the underwear. David Tennant did not get the underwear.
Ball games.
Ball games. Yes. Yeah. And I didn't actually notice that until the second time I watched it through, and I was like, "Wait a minute."
Yes. And the effect of them splitting was very well done.
Very well done.
There was quite a bit of practical in it, and if you watch some of the behind the scenes, they got very close to each other.
Yeah.
Lucky bastards.
Very, very close. I know.
And that whole fight scene and everything, there is a lot of foreshadowing in that fight, in that ball scene, because the Celestial Toymaker says, "My legions are coming." So what legions, and why didn't they show up? That's my question. When are they going to come? So I guess that's foreshadowing to the future. And then at the very end, the mystery hand came up and picked up the Master's tooth, which means the Master's coming back at some point.
I'm wondering if that was just a tongue-in-cheek reference to the last time the Master was imprisoned in something golden.
I don't know, but the fact that it remained and that a hand picked it up, something is going to happen with the Master. And I know that there's been teasing that the Master's coming back, so
it'll be interesting they had to get how long they leave it this time.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll be interested to see who plays the Master this time too.
So
I like the Master. He's my favorite villain. He's my favorite villain of all time.
I've got some questions on the Master coming up.
All right.
So Mike, that leaves us with you to do the big musical episode.
The big musical episode. Okay. First of all, I have to preface this to say that I love Ncuti Gatwa. I think he's a great actor. I think he's a wonderful person. However, I did not like this episode. Didn't like it. I think they're taking. My personal opinion is, if Ncuti doesn't get his handle on the character and make it his own, for right now, there was so many different character flaws in his character during this episode. I don't know where the Doctor is going with this, but unless he gets a handle on it, he's only going to be a couple of series before he's out the door, because the fans are just going to hate this. He does some tropes that he doesn't do. He doesn't have a set costume like every other Doctor has had, because we see him wearing a kilt and a wife beater while he's dancing on the floor at a gay club. We see him in shorts and a t-shirt. We see him in all sorts of other things, and of course the singing. And I didn't like the troll storyline, the time thing, and there were so many time jumps in this episode, back to the future, back to current, all this other kind of stuff, which just made my brain go crazy for several reasons. And well acted, though. I have to say, I freeze framed on a lot of Ncuti's barely clothed scenes. So I was like, ooh, yay, hey, look at that. Especially the twirling around and the dancing stuff. And of course, the Jabba the Troll on the ship just made me cringe so much. So much.
Yeah.
And then my question again is okay, so that goes on. So the synopsis is, the Doctor appears at a church. There's a baby being left on the doorstep of the church. A priest comes out, looks around confusingly, and adopts the baby. So, okay. The baby then goes on to become
Ruby.
What's her name? Why can't I think of her name right now?
Ruby Sunday.
Yeah, the whole name of the show. Duh. Okay. And again, who's the mother? Where does that go? The Doctor finds Ruby. They go off on the coincidences are going on. I love the line of, I just got snowmaned. Okay. It's like, again, balls. So
no, it was the head.
That was the head. Yes. So Ruby and he go on this adventure. They sing a song with the trolls. They don't feed the baby to the trolls. The baby comes back. And at the very end, and so there's things that goes on. It's like coincidences, problems. The Doctor saves some other people, and they go. It's a very good bottle episode with lots of foreshadowing for the coming season. And I think that was the whole purpose of this episode, was to set up 8 storylines for the next coming in May. So, who was the mother of Ruby? Was it? I think my personal opinion, and I'm going to just put a prediction out here, that Ruby Sunday is a unknown daughter of River Song. I think that was River Song that dropped her off at the.
Okay, that's an interesting one.
That's the one I haven't thought of or heard, and I do think that's kind of an interesting.
I think that they're going to see a connection. We're going to see a connection between River Song, Amy Pond, and Ruby Sunday. Just my thoughts. Just my thoughts. But I mean, it's as good a speculation as any other in the Whoniverse.
Yeah.
I mean, so
you never know who's coming back.
Right. Or it could be the Master's daughter. That could have been the Master that dropped her off.
There's been a lot of speculation about the boots that the mother is wearing.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the boots, they are a very similar style to Jodie's boots.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an interesting
Yeah.
take. So it could, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So overall,
When did she have time to go off and get pregnant, though?
Well, she's, Time Lords.
Well, true, yeah, I guess.
Which brings up another point of time travel and the TARDIS and the Doctor. When they leave with Tate and they're off and about, and she says, "My family's going to be worried about me." They're in a time. Can't they just come back to the exact moment in time that they just left, and the family didn't have to wait? I mean, they could have been gone for decades doing things and come back to that moment in time. Here you go.
Yeah, the Doctor's track record with putting people back where he got them from is
very
bloody
never
awful.
Very good. Exactly. Although he did it quite a bit with
Clara.
Was it Laura? Yeah, Clara. He got her back like within minutes of leaving. So and in fact,
poor Sarah Jane, he couldn't get her back geographic. He could get her back in the right time,
just not
but
geographically.
Never geographically.
Yep.
Poor girl had to walk everywhere.
Yep. So, overall, I think the episode's good. I liked it. It's setting us up for lots of fun stuff in the future. Again, not a big fan of the musical numbers, but that's just me.
My biggest question at the end of that is the neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
When she's like, "What? Haven't you ever seen a TARDIS before?"
Yeah.
So I'm like,
again,
not sure
foreshadowing.
She's good, not sure she's bad. Yes,
she could be the master.
This is one of those ones where Doctor Who magazine basically has kind of, in their last issue, when they were doing the preview of this, we're going to meet a lot more of Ruby's family, and we're going to meet a lot more people. Anita Dobson is quite a big name in the UK, or was at least quite a big name. So whether or not they've got her coming back, I mean, they could quite conceivably have done a block filming with her, and got all her scenes done. So I personally think we'll either see her again, or more likely we'll see a younger version of her.
Right.
So basically, she will meet the Doctor for the first time.
Some people have been speculating that she might be the one that picked up the tooth, because when you look at the hand, it is pretty clearly a female's hand that picks the tooth up.
Yes, and
I don't know.
She could also
paints
be
his nails.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's true, but the
she
hand
could also
was definitely more feminine looking.
Yeah.
She could also be Ruby's mother.
There's that too.
Yeah. I mean, living next door, keeping an eye on her, even though she left. I don't know. Again,
the fact they did it as a cut-in into the closing titles means that it was very definitely a kind of a less.
Yeah, it was.
It's important.
It was supposed to be important. Yes.
I think the one.
I'm glad I actually watched through.
I think the one thing that really disturbs me is the fact that Ruby has run away with the Doctor on Christmas Eve. So basically, she's abandoned her adopted mother to spend Christmas Day alone, potentially. Kind of like,
yeah. Again, maybe she thinks she could come back right on the same moment in time.
But she doesn't know that.
Well, yeah, but every every one of the Doctor's companions goes away thinking, "Oh yeah, I'll just come back."
Back in yeah, exactly. Yep, they do. Oh, it's a time machine. I can come back whenever. Yeah. So,
I mean, I thought the musical number was basically Doctor Who's tribute to Jim Henson. I mean, that was.
I will say the goblins were very Labyrinth-esque.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was. I was expecting David Bowie to come jumping out at any minute.
I mean, and also the Goblin King. I mean, who doesn't get pierced on Christmas Day?
Yes,
right. Exactly. Yes.
I mean, the thing is like
stabby ship.
That episode had a real difficult balance because it was a Christmas episode. It wasn't supposed to be kind of heavy drama. It wasn't supposed to be kind of intense viewing. It had so much to do. It had to introduce the Doctor. It had to introduce Ruby. It had to have plot. It had to set up the arc. And yeah, I think it's one of those ones where you will need to rewatch it and pay attention because I think there's even more being set up in that than we've discussed so far.
I think so too.
The only bit that was missing for me was a bit more about the background of the goblins. Were they they Earth-based? Were they aliens? You know, where were they actually from?
I think they're from another dimension.
That's
dun, dun, dun.
Kind of, but say I that's why I've got to rewatch this one carefully, because I lost a lot of that whilst basically I was imagining Shooty on all fours crawling around. Anyway,
yeah.
And I do love his anti-gravity gloves. And then the throwaway line is,
yes,
you get dropped enough times, you invent something to take care of that. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I do think that was nice, because it did set this Doctor up as somebody who's a little bit self-aware
And very tongue-in-cheek. And again, and then my last criticism of this, the sonic television clicker. I'm not sure
the new
how
screwdriver is.
It's not a screwdriver. It's not a screwdriver in any sense of the imagination.
No,
it is a TV clicker. It's a remote control. And I do love the little thing that pops out that's a quote unquote USB drive in the explanation video that we saw about it. And it's like, okay, so they kind of had to come up with something, because the Doctor said you can stick the sonic screwdriver in the keyhole. So now this sonic screwdriver has to have something that goes in the keyhole. So that's the little thing that pops out.
Yeah.
Well, I do like the fact that it's also a flashlight. I mean,
yes.
The doctor keeps forgetting to carry a torch in so many places.
Right.
So except now he's got one with him all the time.
Well, yes, but and we talked about this last time on the show, the magical coat that he pulls things out when he needs it. Why couldn't he ever pull out a flashlight?
Well, he has had torches in several past iterations of the Doctor.
And that was actually the one thing that across the three Tennants and Church on Ruby Road that I still feel needed the explanation, was why Jodie's clothes regenerated so dramatically with the arrival of David. I know what reason RTD gave as the kind of like the practical reason, which I don't agree with at all. But the in-universe
I would have
reason...
liked to seen David in Jodie's clothes. I think it would have been hilarious.
Yeah, because the trope always was that the Doctor regenerates. He's got the old Doctor's clothes on. He takes a look at it and goes, "Ugh," and then goes to the closet. And especially with was it Matt Smith that did the whole changing into different outfits montage?
That was Tom.
Was that Tom?
Oh, and it was also Sylvester.
Yeah.
It was.
It's like
I think Tom took it to took it to a really, really weird level.
Yeah. So
the clown.
So, but
I think they should have gone with the Viking Warrior.
I'm never gonna forget that.
Yeah.
Oh, I did like the Viking Warrior. I thought he was very, very masculine and butch in that one.
But so apparently then the trope is that not only does the Doctor's clothes change now, the TARDIS regenerates every time the Doctor regenerates, which we knew was kind of what happens. And now then the sonic screwdriver came into the current era of stuff. So we've got all these things that changed.
The screwdriver,
with the regeneration.
The good thing about Ruby Road is that because it didn't pick up directly from the end of the giggle, we can have this great big window where kind of Shooty can have solo adventures where we can discover how he got the new Sonic. So there's plenty of scope for kind of future bits to be slotted in there. Oh, definitely.
As I said, this episode set us up for so much fodder for future episodes that decades of fodder just on the 20 or so foreshadowing things that I picked up on.
Well, and I did love they carried Mavity through.
Well. It's gonna be the thing, Mavity. It's
gonna be the running joke. Yes.
Yep. Especially when when the Doctor says gravity and Donna says what?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Mavity. Yes.
As a physicist, I'm trying hard not to be offended by them changing the name of one of the fundamental forces of the universe. As a Doctor Who fan, I'm pissing myself with laughter.
Yeah, it's just hilarious because it's one of those butterfly effect moments.
Yeah. The thing that, because I after it was shown, I chatted to one of my friends who's also a physics teacher, and it's like the formula for gravity is now F equals MMM over
MMM.
It's just like, oh shit! This is like, you have gone with ravity or cavity or something other than bloody
yes.
M.
Yes.
I just thought it was great.
Yeah.
Isaac Newton and his like, what was that word again? Oh, mavity.
Yes. And again, the other
heard it.
The other foreshadowing about Sir Isaac Newton. Sir? Oh, spoilers.
Yeah.
So that's our recaps and our discussions about the last 3 specials of 2023.
Yay!
Yes. You wanted some stuff on villains.
Yes, because we love Who villains. They are some of the most interesting characters in the Whoniverse.
Before I run through some of the ones that kind of, I feel merit mentioning, I have a genuine question for the two of you, because it's something that it baffles me genuinely. It really does. What makes a good Doctor Who villain?
Ooh, in my opinion, it's a villain who can keep up with the Doctor and kind of keep him on his toes, and it's also a little bit cheeky and a little bit scary. That to me is a good villain for Doctor Who.
I would have to say a good villain for Doctor Who would be a villain that is clueless about the Doctor and doesn't care about what the Doctor can do. Because so many of the villains are aware of the Doctor and what the Doctor can and cannot do, but the villains that are like, we don't care who you are, we're just going to do this. And he has to defeat them, and those villains he has to learn about at the same time that they are trying to defeat them. I keep saying he but the Doctor is not a he.
Yes.
They have to figure out the villain, and the villain has to figure out the Doctor, and that, to me, the interplay of learning about each other makes the villain way more interesting.
It's really weird you should say that, because, of course, earlier on you said the Master was your favourite villain.
Only because the Master has... But you didn't ask me what I thought. You asked me what I thought makes a good villain. That's what makes a good villain. But the Master is my favorite villain because the Master is so... over the top.
Like what I said. Yeah,
over the top.
Funny, cheeky. Yeah.
And hates the Doctor like no other creature in the universe. I mean, the Master hates the Doctor more than Davos hates the Doctor.
So just my opinion of the Master is that the Master is the Doctor's Joker. If the Doctor's Batman, the Master is the Joker. They hate each other, but they love each other because they realize without each other, they'd be bored to tears.
I mean, he was actually created to be the Moriarty to the Doctor. That's
kind
of like
which is again what the Joker was created to be, the Moriarty for Batman, because Batman is billed as the world's greatest detective.
And a thought that just popped into my head as we're discussing this, now that we have a canon of bi-generation. Was the Master a bi-generation of the Doctor early on, because they were allegedly childhood friends? Was the Master an early bi-generation when they were children, and the Master got all the evil parts of the Doctor, and the Doctor got all the good parts of the Doctor?
Right. And funny you should mention this, because this is on my list. Right.
Okay.
So, because there's been a lot of speculation about who's the one who waits, who's the boss, stuff like that. And because
Bruce Springsteen,
Who are the Legions? Yes.
And because Russell T Davies is now very clearly casting an eye to steal from not just the show's past, but as we saw in the Star Beast, he's taking stuff from the extended universe. I've decided to kind of gather together a whole list of potential candidates. Okay. And yeah, Master is the obvious one. Now, the Master, really bizarre back history because, okay, we've had him in the TV show. In the Pertwee years, he was supposed to be the yin to the Doctor's yang, or whichever way round it is.
Right.
And the very last Master story before, we sadly never made because Roger Delgado passed away, was supposed to be the Doctor was supposed to be the Master sacrificing himself to save the Doctor. We then in TV he came back as this kind of crispy fried Master to Tom Baker before the pantomime Master to Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy. And then we got the over-the-top Master in John Sims. We got Missy. And then we got the Sacha Darwin. Anyway, but if you include the extended universe, the Master has got a crazy history. So we have had other versions of the Master in the novels. In one of the early 90s novels, there is a version of the Master who gets forgotten an awful lot. In the late 90s comic strips, the Master turned up in yet another body that we hadn't kind of encountered before. In the audio dramas, I have now lost count of how many different Masters there have been, including one who makes John Sims look sane.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. No, and I had to, John Sims' Master is by far one of the best over-the-top villains I've ever seen in my life.
The one I'm thinking of is played by a gentleman called Alexander McQueen. He is in an awful lot of the Big Finish audios. And yeah, he plays the role in a really evil, over-the-top way. I mean, he is by far my favourite of the audio masters. And of course, the fact that, we've had the Celestial Toymaker, well, that kind of confuses things because the Doctor didn't recognise the Star Beast. The Toymaker, this was supposed to be his second and third kind of games. But again, in the comics, the audios, the novels, we've had the Celestial Toymaker crop up. The Fifth Doctor encountered him in a novel. The Sixth Doctor encountered him in an audio of an unmade TV story. He encountered the Eighth Doctor in the comic strips, and the Seventh Doctor in the audios, the Eighth Doctor in the audios. There's been a huge amount of Celestial Toymaker stuff over the years. Each time, though, he has been more or less the same character or characterization. I can see the Toymaker coming back. I don't think they can afford Neil Patrick Harris for a second time.
Probably not.
But given how much there is the Toymaker out there, I can see them nicking him again. Russell T Davies, of course, started back with Rose with the Nestine Consciousness. Now, Nestine Consciousness has cropped up a few times in the TV series, so is that going to come back? Especially as it's been in the comic strips. It's one of the few that actually was in the late 90s books and the books that are related to the New Who revival. So kind of there is Nestine stuff in the extended universe. There have been audios with the Autons and the Nestine Consciousness. So that's an interesting one for the Legion. That's a kind of a nice pre-created backstory that can be nicked from. Stephen Moffat brought back the Great Intelligence. The less I say about how accurate he did the Great Intelligence, the better. But the Great Intelligence, again, massively popular with the fans. It's been in books, it's been in the audios, it's been in spin-off books, it's been in unofficial spin-off videos. There is a lot of Great Intelligence stuff out there. And bizarrely, in the kind of the mythology that the early 90s books created, the Great Intelligence comes from roughly the same place as the Celestial Toymaker. So there is a kind of, Celestial Toymaker and the Great Intelligence are older gods. They are kind of from the universe before this one. So they are kind of linked together already in the series mythology. There are some other fan favourites that always get talked about. Okay. And although 2 of these haven't yet made it into the revived series, the 3rd one has, we'll start with the Rani. Because any time there is a mysterious female character
everybody thinks it's the Rani.
Everybody thinks it's the Rani. Sadly, Kate Amara has long since passed into a realm more capable of containing her personality. But the Rani, again, she cropped up in novels. She cropped up both in the official Doctor Who audios and in unofficial ones as well. And as I said, there is clearly a kind of a desire for the Rani to come back because, everyone goes, oh, it's the Rani.
And that's who they thought. Several people speculated that the neighbor was the Rani.
Yes. Russell T Davies, of course, has already played the fans for fools with this. Can you remember the name of the character in the Sarah Jane Adventures? I'll give you a hint.
I've just forgotten. It's been a while.
It's Ronnie.
Yeah, right.
And the Sarah Jane Adventures have just been revived on audio with the original cast as well. So,
nice.
Again, they got Tommy Knight back. They got Clyde is back. Rani is back. There are returning villains from the Sarah Jane Adventures. There are all kinds of things on that one.
Nice.
Another one that people talk about, and again, kind of has in expanded media had various minions, is the Monk.
Yes.
So in the 60s, we got the Monk for 1.5 stories. And it was played by a fantastic character actor called Peter Butterworth. And of course, as with vast majority of people from the 60s, long since passed on. But the Monk has, he was the main villain in an entire story arc of books. He's cropped up in the comics many times, and there are some heartbreaking stories on audio.
Storios.
Stories
It's
on
a new
audio
breakfast cereal.
where the Monk has their character greatly expanded. The character in audio has been played by, following on from the tradition of Peter Butterworth, 2 amazing comic actors. I'm not going to name them though, because if you've not heard the stories, finding out which characters are the Monk is one of the twists. So the Monk is a definite possibility. It's about time we had the return of that.
He got he got a little bit screwed over by the Doctor.
Yeah, many times.
Yes,
and
as many villains have.
Yeah, and bizarrely, the other one that kind of we have raided is Rassilon.
Yeah.
Now, Rassilon has got a very convoluted history with Doctor Who. He's first mentioned in the television series, but doesn't appear. He then actually appears in the comic strips, where he does have people doing his bidding. His corpse then turns up on television, as does a giant floaty head projection who looks and sounds different in each of the 4 versions of the 5 Doctors that have now been released. One original version and 3 different special editions. He then turns up in the audios, in an entire very long arc of audios, before he becomes Timothy Dalton on television. So there is a huge potential for our mystery villain to be Rassilon, because basically I can see the Time Lords having got pissed off with him being evil, good, evil, good. It's like morality ping pong with Rassilon.
Yeah.
So I can see them kicking him out and him getting things underway again. Now, when I was trying to think, I thought, okay, if Russell T Davies is nicking from the extended universe, then who are the options for villains that have been in the extended universe but haven't yet been on television? And this is a much more interesting category. Because when we've got the TV stories, of course, we've got 50 minutes. The villains, if it's an arc villain, you get a couple of minutes in each episode before you get your 2-part finale kind of thing. Whereas in the books, they definitely took their time building the villains up over huge numbers of books or comic strips.
Right.
So I've decided upon 4 potential ones, because even if these are wild outsiders, these are eras of Doctor Who that I really strongly recommend people actually tracking down and reading and enjoying, because these are 4 of the best villains from what were known as the Wilderness Years. Okay. So, in 4th place is a villain called the Threshold. Now, the Threshold were the baddies in a very long series of comic strips. Basically, they saw out the 7th Doctor and saw in the 8th Doctor, except for the brief interlude where the 8th Doctor was seen in by the Celestial Toymaker. So we know that this is an era that Russell T Davies will be aware of because of the Celestial Toymaker. The Threshold, without going into too many spoilers, they are responsible for 3 things which I feel, again, are relevant to what we have had in the last few years. The Threshold wrote Ace out of the comic strips in very spectacular fashion. Bastards! They also blew up the moon. And of course we had the less than...
I bet that ruined Mavity.
Yeah, and also kind of, we had that less than fantastic Capaldi episode, Kill the Moon. And I'm not saying that the TV series ever stole any ideas from other media, but the Threshold saga was the first one where we got a full-blown fake regeneration. So, there is a big history with kind of, stuff that the TV series has done that started off elsewhere. It's actually quite difficult when you look at the expanded universe to find a Doctor that didn't fake their own regeneration at some point. Yeah. Right. So, in 3rd place, and this is one who I am inordinately fond of, even though the 4.5 novels that they are in are not necessarily the best that there are. A creature that goes by 2 names. One name is Ishtar, and the other name is the Time Worm. W-Y-R-M. If you know oldie English, you will know the significance of the spelling.
That's dragon.
That's dragon, yes. The Time Worm, Ishtar, was actually the very first villainess that brought in the era of the Wilderness Years. She is the villainess in the opening 4-book series, which is the Time Worm series. When the villainess was announced, it's like, hey, yay, this is going to be good. And everyone was kind of like, okay, this is going to be interesting, because it's the first time that Doctor Who had been done as original novels. There'd been short stories in the annuals, but this was the official continuation. And to show you just how confident that they were that everything was going to go swimmingly, something like 8 months before the first book came out, Doctor Who magazine managed to run a preview article which gave away not just the plot of the first book, but it gave away the climax of the first book, the plots of books 2, 3 and 4, and then started on giving away the plot of the second arc. It was not the finest.
Wow.
It was not Doctor Who magazine's finest hour on keeping secrets. They have learnt their lesson since then. But yes, before Time Worm Genesis was even at the printers, the resolution to it had been published in Doctor Who magazine. I mean, we just assumed that was like kind of like something that happened halfway through the first book. It's like, no, that turned out to be the cliffhanger to the first book, which led into the second book. The Time Worm turned up again in the 50th novel in that series called Happy Endings. A changed character, but changed for the better. The 4 Time Worm novels, as I said, they are an interesting read. Time Worm Genesis is controversial. Time Worm Exodus is traditional, fantastic, and without saying too much, it has a sequence in it which apparently is based in reality that freaks me out every time I read it. It involves a hand grenade and someone's head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, the third book, Time Worm Apocalypse, not seen by many as a particularly good story, but I think it's harmless. I think it's a great fun kind of intermission tale before Time Worm Revelation, which is basically seen as the godfather of modern Doctor Who. Okay? So they're not the world's best stories, but the Time Worm series of books are important enough in the history of Doctor Who that I think, there is potential.
Okay.
In second place, I have a name called Braxiatel. Now, this is a name that appeared in precisely one sentence in one episode of Doctor Who.
Oh, okay.
But when the expanded universe arrived, they took the name and, dear God, they ran with it. In the City of Death, the Tom Baker and Lalla Ward story set in Paris, they talk about something called the Braxiatel Collection, which is basically just their name for a spacey art gallery.
Right.
Okay.
When the Wilderness Years came along, they decided to actually make Braxiatel a real creation. He crops up in the novels quite early on, and put it this way, he's still in the audios that are the spin-off from the Doctor Who audios. He became the principal villain to a character called Professor Bernice Summerfield. Professor Bernice Summerfield, quite frankly, deserves a podcast all of her own. She started as the Doctor's companion. She appeared in 1992, I think it was. She's about to star in a series of audios with Christopher Eccleston's Doctor. She's appeared with pretty much every possible Doctor. And the fact that she's a time-travelling archaeologist that meets the Doctor out of sequence of normal order, has off-screen had sex with him, and
maybe that's the baby on Ruby Road.
Basically, how they got away with putting River Song into Doctor Who when Professor Bernice Summerfield had been doing that role for the longest time. And Brax basically became the big baddie for the Professor Bernice, the Benny audios. But he crops up in the Doctor Who audios still as well. And given that he's played by a guy called Miles Richardson, who is the son of Ian Richardson, who is a very famous English actor. He's a brilliant actor in his own right. He's appeared in numerous Doctor Who spin-off videos. Basically, I can see Brax, who is a manipulative bastard in the extreme, who has no qualms about summoning minions and legions. I can see him cropping up. And my number one choice from the extended universe is one that sadly comes from an era of the extended universe which is massively overlooked, and I do mean really, really overlooked. Once the Paul McGann movie had been on, you would think, yay, everything would become revitalised. The comic strips took off, did brilliantly. Paul McGann then went on to do the audios, is still doing them. The Eighth Doctor novels, the EDAs, Eighth Doctor Adventures, they started on a dubious note. They never massively recovered. And yeah, by the time the revived series came along, they were really on life support, which is a shame because in the latter half of the EDAs, there is a character called Sabbath.
Okay.
And Sabbath, well, without, again, because it is a huge plot arc. It takes place over, I think, about 8 or 9 really long novels. I mean, the first one is something like 128,000 words. It's the longest Doctor Who book up to that date.
Wow.
Yeah. At one point, and say this isn't really a spoiler because it happens in the first book, he even steals the Doctor's second heart. You know,
wow.
He literally cuts it out of him. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I should tell you that the EDAs are not kiddie friendly.
Clearly,
no, it doesn't sound it.
No, the EDAs are an interesting beast. Again, they are worthy of another podcast in themselves. But the reason I kind of thought, Sabbath would be an interesting one, is because his overall story arc is all about changing the timelines. And of course, we have changed the timelines from gravity to mavity. We have changed the timelines so that the 10th Doctor, it was the first time he'd encountered the Meep. We have changed the timelines so that not 10th Doctor, the David Tennant Doctor. Because quite frankly, the numbering makes no sense whatsoever. The David Tennant
Not
Doctor
anymore.
No.
had not encountered the Toymaker, despite all the audios, the books, the comic strips, and everything. So, Sabbath, yeah, he comes from a very obscure part of the Doctor Who universe, but the name has never gone away. Fans of that era have not forgotten Sabbath. They've not forgotten those stories. There are some genuinely really good stories in there, and some shit ones. But then it's Doctor Who. Where would Doctor Who be without the kind of
without some shit stories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is very manipulative. He will twist people around his little finger. He's got the potential to come back as a real big bad. So, yeah, there are potentials from the expanded universe that we could potentially get. I don't think we will, because I think the copyright would be too difficult to get hold of, blah, 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 blah. But then again, an awful lot of what Stephen Moffat did was first done in the extended universe, in the EDAs.
Right.
So Stephen Moffat wasn't adverse to stealing other people's ideas. Russell T Davies, back in control.
Yeah.
Yep. So
could happen again.
I reckon, yeah, Sabbath, they're all remote outsiders. But Sabbath, I think, would be a great one because it would give people an in to accessing an era of Doctor Who that deserves to be revisited. It's hardly ever talked about these days. Everyone talks about the Virgin New Adventures. They were loved. They were worshipped. The EDAs came along and suddenly, because Paul McGann took over in the audios, the audience fell away. So I think, yeah, the EDAs, definitely worth revisiting, and Sabbath would be a great way to kind of get people's awareness of those back.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, if they could bring back Brax, God,
easy for you to
say that 3 times fast.
Bring back Brax. No, I'm not going to say it 3 times. Because quite frankly, he's the sort of person that if you say his name 3 times, he will turn up.
Will appear. Yes.
Yeah. But it would bring Benny into the universe, and if you can get Benny into the new series, God, that would be good.
Nice. Yes. Excellent. Well, you know what? I think we did it again.
Yes, we did.
I hope you guys have enjoyed your time with us this month and are looking forward to next month's episode. We're going to kind of go way back.
We don't have
James?
We don't have a new episode to discuss next month. There's no new episodes till May.
No. So we're going to go way back to the beginning, and some behind the scenes production staff that I think deserve a little bit of love. So I think next month we're going to discuss the great Verdi Lambert.
And Warris Hussain, I believe.
And Warris, yes. Because they are both over here I don't think as well known as they are over there. And I think they need some love because they are both very instrumental in, Doctor Who's success.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I think, there's a lot to be said for both of them, and I look forward to singing their praises.
Yes, they were pioneers. Truthfully, very. They really went through the ringer to make Doctor Who what it is and what it's become. So I'm looking forward to discussing them and finding out more about them, because I'm sure that James has vast storehouses of knowledge about these two wonderful people.
And it sounds like I have some knowledge to learn between now and our next recording.
Yes. I only know a little bit about it, thanks to the wonderful special that they did a while back. But yeah, it's the story of these two people is just really good.
Yeah.
And what they went through to make Doctor Who is just really amazing. So I hope everybody will like and subscribe to us on YouTube, or find us on your favorite podcatcher. If you'd like to send us a little monetary support, please consider becoming a subscriber on Buzzsprout at threedowho.bsky.social to help us keep making content for you and keep the lights on.
And remember, you don't have to subscribe, but it does help if you do.
No, it does help. It does help. And thanks for listening. And remember, no point being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
Yay! That's true. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.